"Sir, I live here alone," the little girl told the millionaire, but when he entered the house, something happened that would change his life forever. Comment telling me what you thought of this story, giving it a score from 0 to 10, and mention what city you're watching from. I really want to know if you liked my story and get to know you better. So please subscribe to my channel to support my work. I'm counting on your help. The sound of creaking wood broke the morning silence in Lakeside Park. Liam O'Connell stopped mid-trail, his trained engineer's eyes immediately identifying the danger. The small wooden house before him was visibly leaning, its support beams giving way under its own weight. It was a matter of time before the whole thing collapsed. At 42, Liam had seen many compromised structures during his 20 years at the helm of O'Connell Construction in Cedar Creek. His morning walk through the park always included an unconscious technical assessment of the surrounding properties, a habit his late wife Marina used to call an occupational hazard. But something about that house unsettled him in a different way. The windows were open, makeshift curtains fluttered in the breeze, and a small, poorly tended garden occupied part of the yard. Someone lived there. Someone was living in that death trap that could give way at any moment. Liam approached the peeling wooden gate, looking for signs of life. That's when she appeared. A girl of about 4 emerged from behind the house, carrying a plastic bucket that seemed too heavy for her small arms. Her clothes were dirty, her brown hair tangled, and her bare feet stepped carefully on the loose boards of the porch. But it was her eyes that impressed Liam the most. Large, expressive, carrying a seriousness that shouldn't exist in a child so young. "Good morning, sir," she said in a clear voice, stopping near the gate. "Are you lost?" Liam was momentarily speechless. The naturalness with which the girl addressed him, as if it were perfectly normal for such a small child to be alone in a house on the verge of ruin, deeply disturbed him. "Good morning," he replied, forcing a smile. "I was just looking at your house. Do you know it's in a dangerous situation?" The girl tilted her head, as if considering the question carefully. "The house always makes noise. Grandma Eulalia used to say it was tired, but that it would hold on a little longer." "And where is your grandmother now?" Liam asked, an uncomfortable feeling growing in his chest. "Grandma went away a long time ago," the girl replied simply. "Now I live here alone." The words hit Liam like a punch to the gut. A 4-year-old child living alone in a house that could collapse at any moment. It was impossible, surreal, but the evidence was right there in front of him, carrying a bucket of water as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "What's your name?" he asked, trying to keep his voice calm. "Sophia," she answered, carefully placing the bucket on the ground. "And you?" "Liam. Sophia, may I come in? I'd like to take a look at the house's structure." The girl hesitated for a moment, her large eyes studying his face. Then, with a small nod, she opened the gate. The interior of the house confirmed Liam's worst fears. Makeshift beams, likely installed by some well-intentioned neighbor, precariously supported the ceiling that threatened to cave in. The floor was uneven, some boards completely rotten, and there were clear signs of water damage on several walls. It was a miracle the structure was still standing, but it was what he saw in the small bedroom that shocked him the most. On the floor, there was a makeshift bed made of cardboard and a few old blankets. Beside it, broken toys and some children's books with yellowed pages. Small clothes hung on a rope stretched between 2 walls. That was where Sophia slept, on the floor of a house that could collapse on her during the night. "Sophia," he said carefully, crouching to her level, "how long have you been living here alone?" The girl counted on her fingers before answering. 3 full moons, she said. "Grandma Eulalia said she was going to get medicine and never came back. 3 months. A 4-year-old child had survived alone for 3 months in these conditions. Liam felt a mixture of horror and admiration for the little one's resilience. "And the neighbors? Does anyone help you?" At first, Mrs. Gable brought food. Then Mr. Johnson fixed the wood on the roof, but now nobody comes anymore. Sophia explained with the brutal simplicity of children. They say they can't take care of me too. Liam closed his eyes for a moment, processing the situation. His analytical mind was already calculating the costs of an emergency renovation, the necessary materials, the time it would take. But a voice in his head, which sounded suspiciously like Marina's, whispered that this was more complicated than simple structural issues. "Sophia, are you hungry?" he asked. The girl nodded shyly. "I'm always a little hungry, but I know how to wait." Those simple words broke something inside Liam. A 4-year-old shouldn't know how to wait when she was hungry. She shouldn't live alone. She shouldn't sleep on the floor of a collapsing house. "Let's get out of here," he said, holding out his hand. "I need to make some calls." Sophia looked at his outstretched hand, then at his face. "Are you going to fix my house?" "I am," Liam promised, surprised by the firmness of his own voice. "But first, let's make sure you're safe." When Sophia placed her small hand in his, Liam felt he had crossed a line from which he could never return. He didn't know yet that this impulsive decision would not only change the girl's life, but would also reveal secrets about his own past that he had preferred to keep buried. As they walked out of the condemned house, Liam couldn't help but notice how Sophia turned one last time to look at her leaning home, as if saying goodbye. He didn't know that this would be just the first of many goodbyes the little girl would be forced to make in the coming months. The first call Liam made was to his trusted contractor, Charlie, while Sophia ate a sandwich at the park's snack bar. The girl devoured the food with a hunger that made his heart ache, pausing only to take small sips of orange juice. "Charlie, I need you at Lakeside Park now. It's an emergency," Liam said into the phone, watching as Sophia saved half the sandwich in a napkin, likely out of a preservation instinct. "What kind of emergency, boss?" "A house about to collapse, with a child living inside." The silence on the other end of the line lasted a few seconds. "I'm on my way." While they waited, Liam tried to get more information from Sophia, but the girl's answers were fragmented, typical of a child who had learned to say only what was necessary. Eulalia had appeared in her life when she was very young, taking care of her after her mother had to go away. There was no mention of a father, other relatives, or documents. It was as if Sophia had simply materialized in the world, cared for by a woman who had also mysteriously disappeared. Charlie arrived in 15 minutes, accompanied by 2 workers and a truck loaded with equipment. An experienced engineer, he needed only a few minutes to assess the structure. "This thing is a ticking time bomb," he told Liam, far enough away for Sophia not to hear. "The main beams are completely compromised. I don't understand how it hasn't collapsed yet. How much time do we need for a complete renovation? 2 weeks, working double shifts. But to stabilize it emergently, I can have something safe by tomorrow." "Do it," Liam ordered. "Use as many men as you need." For the rest of the day, Liam watched, fascinated, as Sophia interacted with the workers. The girl showed no fear or shyness, circling the site like a little supervisor, offering water to the workers and explaining where everything in the house was. There was a disconcerting maturity in her gestures, as if she had been forced to grow up too quickly. It was while the men were removing some furniture that the first discovery happened. In an old box, under a dismantled bed, Charlie found a series of documents, certificates, papers from the records office, and among them, a birth certificate that made Liam's blood run cold. "Sophia Santos O'Connell," he read in a low voice, the words dancing before his eyes. "Daughter of Catherine O'Connell." The box slipped from his hands, scattering papers on the floor. Catherine, his younger sister, who had disappeared from his life after a terrible fight over their parents' inheritance 5 years ago. Catherine, whom he believed had left town forever. Catherine, about whom he had never heard another word. "Boss, are you okay?" Charlie asked, noticing Liam's sudden paleness. "Sophia," Liam called with a trembling voice. "Come here, sweetie." The girl approached, her curious eyes fixed on the paper in his hands. "Do you know this name? Catherine O'Connell?" Sophia's face lit up for the first time since they had met. "Mommy Catherine. Grandma Eulalia talked about her sometimes, said she was in a special place, healing." Healing from what? Grandma never really explained. Just said that Mommy Catherine got very sad after I was born and needed a place to get better. Liam felt as if the world had stopped spinning. Sophia was his niece, the daughter of the sister he had lost to pride and stubbornness. The child who was living in deplorable conditions was his family, and he didn't even know she existed. "Charlie," he said, his voice still unsteady, "I need you to take charge here. I have some calls to make." The rest of the afternoon was a blur of phone calls and searches. Liam contacted hospitals, psychiatric clinics, any place that might have records of Catherine. It was only at the end of the day that he found the information he was looking for. Catherine O'Connell was admitted to St. Jude's Mental Wellness Center 5 years ago. The clinic's secretary informed him, "She is still a patient of ours. Is she okay?" "I cannot provide medical information over the phone, sir. You would need to prove kinship and schedule a visit." Liam hung up the phone with trembling hands. Catherine was alive, but had been in a psychiatric clinic for 5 years. Sophia had been raised by a woman named Eulalia, who had also disappeared. And he, who could have helped, who should have looked for his sister, was completely oblivious to his own family's suffering. When he returned to the house site, he found Sophia sitting in an old chair the workers had saved, drawing on a piece of paper with a pencil worn down to a stub. The drawing showed a house, not the leaning, dangerous house where she lived, but a perfect house with symmetrical windows, a well-aligned roof, and flowers in the garden. "It's my dream house," she explained when she noticed Liam looking. "Grandma Eulalia said that one day I would live in a house like this." "Sophia," Liam said, crouching beside her, "how would you feel if I told you that maybe we can make your dreams come true?" The girl's eyes widened. "Can you make houses like this?" "I can. It's my job." "And would you make a house like this for me?" The question, asked with such innocent hope, completely broke through the emotional defenses Liam had built over the years. Since losing Marina, he had closed himself off from any deep emotional connection, dedicating himself only to work. But looking into those big, hopeful eyes of Sophia, his niece, he felt something awaken in his chest. "I would," he promised. "But first, we need to sort out some important things." That night, Liam took Sophia to his house, a large, well-kept residence in downtown Cedar Creek that had become too big and too quiet after Marina's passing. He prepared a guest room for the girl, who observed everything with wide eyes, as if she had entered a palace. "It's very pretty here," she whispered, carefully touching the clean bedspread. "It looks like the houses in my drawings." "You can stay here while we fix your house," Liam said. "And then I go back there?" The question caught him off guard. He still hadn't fully processed all the implications of the day's discovery. Sophia was his niece, but legally, he had no rights over her. Catherine was alive but institutionalized. Eulalia had disappeared. The legal situation was a tangle he didn't even know where to begin to unravel. "We'll see," he answered evasively. "The important thing now is that you're safe." But as Sophia fell asleep in the comfortable bed, Liam stayed up late, wrestling with conflicting feelings. Guilt for having lost touch with Catherine when she needed him most. Anger at himself for not knowing about Sophia's existence sooner. and a growing determination to do whatever was necessary to protect the girl. What he didn't know was that at that very moment in an office on the other side of town, his business partner Marcus Thorne was having a phone conversation that would dramatically change the course of everything. "He's getting emotionally involved with this child," Marcus was saying to someone on the other end of the line. "This could be problematic for our plans. Maybe it's time to speed things up." The voice on the other end murmured something inaudible, but the smile that formed on Marcus's face was cold and calculating. Liam had just taken on a responsibility he had no idea would be used against him. The next morning brought a discovery that changed everything. Sophia woke up early, even before Liam, and when he found her, she was in the kitchen trying to reach a glass in the high cabinet. The domestic scene touched him deeply. A child trying to manage on her own, a habit developed after months of neglect. "Let me help," he said, getting the glass and filling it with water. "Thank you, Uncle Liam," Sophia replied naturally, using the term of kinship without knowing how accurate she was being. During breakfast, as he watched the girl eat with the same meticulous care as the day before, Liam made a decision. He needed to visit Catherine to understand what had happened to his sister and how Sophia had ended up in Eulalia's hands. "Sophia, today we're going on a trip," he announced. "We're going to see someone very special." The girl's eyes lit up. "Who?" "Your mother." Sophia's reaction surprised him. Instead of joy, she showed apprehension, her small fingers fiddling nervously with the edge of the tablecloth. "Mommy Catherine is very sad," she said softly. "Grandma Eulalia said she needs to be alone to get better. Sometimes when we're sad, we need people who love us to be close," Liam replied carefully. The drive to St. Jude's Mental Wellness Center took 2 hours. During the journey, Sophia remained silent most of the time, watching the landscape through the window. Occasionally, she asked questions about her mother that Liam didn't know how to answer. "Will she recognize me? Why was she sad after I was born? Did I do something wrong?" Each question was like a dagger to Liam's heart. He realized that Sophia carried a weight of guilt that no child should bear, the feeling of being responsible for her mother's condition. The St. Jude Center was a modern building, surrounded by well-tended gardens, nothing like the gloomy asylums in the movies. Even so, Liam felt a tightness in his chest imagining Catherine there for the past 5 years. Dr. Patricia Moore, the psychiatrist in charge of Catherine's case, received them in her office. A woman in her 50s with graying hair and kind eyes, she immediately took an interest in Sophia. "So you're the Sophia your mother talks so much about," she said, crouching to the girl's level. "She's always drawing you." "She draws. She draws a lot. Your mother is a talented artist, you know," Liam intervened. "Doctor, I need to understand my sister's condition. I haven't heard from her in 5 years." The doctor's expression became more serious. Catherine suffered a severe nervous breakdown after Sophia's birth. Postpartum depression complicated by external factors, family isolation, financial pressure, lack of emotional support. When she arrived here, she was in a catatonic state, and now, there has been significant progress in the last 2 years. She talks, interacts, participates in therapeutic activities, but she still has episodes of regression, especially when the subject is her daughter. Why? Guilt. Catherine blames herself for abandoning Sophia, even though she rationally knows she had no choice. It's one of the barriers we still need to work on. Dr. Moore explained that Eulalia had been a retired nurse who offered to care for Sophia when Catherine was admitted. A kind woman who had lost her own young daughter and saw in Sophia an opportunity to channel her maternal love. "But Eulalia disappeared," Liam said, 3 months ago. The doctor's face darkened. "Eulalia was sick, cancer. She visited us regularly, bringing news and drawings from Sophia to Catherine. On her last visit 4 months ago, she looked very frail. The realization hit Liam like a punch. Eulalia hadn't abandoned Sophia by choice. She had passed away and probably knew she would be leaving the girl alone. The situation was even more tragic than he had imagined. "Can I see my sister?" "Of course, but I need to prepare you." Catherine can have unpredictable reactions to seeing Sophia. The meeting was arranged to take place in the clinic's garden, a neutral and calm environment. Liam held Sophia's hand as they saw Catherine approaching, accompanied by a nurse. His sister had changed drastically. Her hair, once always impeccable, was cut short and grey. She was thinner, her movements careful, as if testing each step. But when her eyes met Sophia's, something lit up in her face. "My little one," she whispered, stopping a few feet away. "You've grown so much." "Hi, Mommy Catherine," Sophia replied shyly. "I brought you a drawing." Sophia let go of Liam's hand and approached Catherine, holding out a crumpled piece of paper. It was the drawing of the perfect house she had made the day before. Catherine took the drawing with trembling hands, tears streaming down her face. "It's beautiful, my dear. Is this the house where we'll live one day? Uncle Liam said he can make a house like this for me." Only then did Catherine notice Liam's presence. Her eyes widened, a mixture of recognition, surprise, and something that looked like fear. "Liam, what are you doing here?" "I found Sophia," he said simply. "She was alone, Catherine, alone for 3 months. The information hit Catherine like a slap. She staggered, supported by the nurse. "Eulalia! Where is Eulalia?" "We don't know yet," Liam replied, "but this isn't your fault." "Yes, it is," Catherine sobbed. "Everything is my fault. I abandoned her. I abandoned my daughter because I couldn't be strong enough." Sophia, with the natural intuition of children, moved closer to her mother and took her hand. "You didn't abandon me, Mommy Catherine. Grandma Eulalia said you were healing so you could come back to me." The conversation that followed was painful and revealing. Catherine told them about the last months of her pregnancy, living alone after the fight with Liam, without money or support. How she had fallen into a deep depression after the birth, unable to properly care for Sophia. How Eulalia had appeared like a guardian angel when she needed it most. "I remember some moments," Catherine said, looking at Sophia. "Breastfeeding you, singing to you, but then everything went dark. I couldn't get out of bed, couldn't stop crying." Liam felt the weight of guilt crushing his chest. He had fought with Catherine over money, over their parents' inheritance, over responsibilities. And when she most needed family support, he wasn't there. "Catherine, forgive me," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "I should have looked for you. I should have." "No," she interrupted. "I was also at fault in our fight. I was too proud to ask for help too." The visit lasted for 2 hours. Liam watched the interaction between mother and daughter, noticing how Catherine struggled to maintain her composure in front of Sophia, and how the girl treated her mother with a heartbreaking delicacy. When it was time to leave, Catherine held both their hands. "Liam, thank you for taking care of her. And Sophia, my little one, I need to stay here a little longer to finish getting better, but I will think of you every day." "I'll think of you too," Sophia replied, "and I'll make more drawings." During the drive back, Sophia fell asleep in the passenger seat, emotionally exhausted. Liam drove in silence, processing everything he had discovered. His sister was alive, but still in treatment. Sophia was officially his niece, but legally still in an undefined situation. And Eulalia, the woman who had saved the girl's life, had likely passed from this world alone, worried about the fate of the child she had raised as a daughter. That's when his cell phone rang. It was Charlie from the construction site. "Boss, we have a problem. Your partner Marcus was here today. Said the work is suspended on his orders." Liam's blood ran cold. "What do you mean, suspended?" He said, "You didn't have authorization to start a renovation without board approval. He sent the men home and sealed off the house. That's impossible. I'm the majority partner. There's more, boss. He mentioned something about you spending company money on personal projects. Said he's going to call an emergency meeting." Liam hung up the phone, his hands trembling with rage. Marcus was using Sophia against him, turning an act of humanity into a corporate weapon. But why now? And what was his partner's real goal? Looking at Sophia sleeping beside him, Liam realized that the battle to protect his niece was just beginning, and that he would have to fight not only against circumstances, but against people who were supposed to be his allies. The emergency meeting at O'Connell Construction was scheduled for the next morning, in a room Liam had personally decorated 5 years ago when the company was on the rise. Now, sitting at the head of the oval table, he felt like a stranger in his own business. Marcus Thorne arrived punctually at 8 o'clock, accompanied by 2 men Liam didn't recognize. One was clearly a lawyer, with an impeccable suit and leather briefcase. The other looked like an accountant with small glasses and a calculating expression. "Liam," Marcus greeted with professional coldness, "thank you for coming." "Marcus, what is this charade? Since when do you have the authority to suspend projects I authorize? Since you started using company resources for unapproved personal projects," Marcus replied, opening a folder full of documents. "Mr. Henry Ferris, our lawyer, and Mr. Robert Lyons, an independent accountant I hired to audit our recent expenses." Liam felt his stomach clench. An independent audit meant Marcus had been preparing something for a while. "The numbers don't lie," said Robert Lyons, adjusting his glasses and consulting a spreadsheet. "In the last 2 days, $15,000 were spent on construction materials without prior board approval. Emergency labor costing 50% more than normal. All of this to renovate a property that doesn't belong to the company." "It's a charitable project," Liam defended. "A child was in danger." "A child who is now living in your house," added Mr. Ferris with an accusatory tone, "creating an obvious conflict of interest." Marcus leaned back in his chair, a cold smile playing on his lips. "Liam, I understand your compassion. It's always been one of your qualities, but I can't allow personal feelings to compromise the financial health of the company." "Compromise?" Liam stood up abruptly. $15,000 compromises a company that grosses $2 million a year. "It's not the 15,000, Marcus replied calmly. "It's the precedent, and it's your growing emotional instability." The accusation hit Liam like a shot. Emotional instability. "You disappeared for 2 days without explanation," Marcus continued, consulting his notes. "Cancelled 3 important client meetings. Authorized expenses without prior consultation. And now you're emotionally involved with a child of unknown origin." "She is not of unknown origin," Liam retorted. "She's my niece." The ensuing silence was heavy. Marcus exchanged a significant look with the lawyer before replying. "Can you prove that legally?" Liam hesitated. There was the birth certificate, but it only showed Catherine as the mother. There were no documents proving his relationship to Catherine, especially considering they had cut ties years ago. "Think carefully about what you're doing," Liam said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I've been here since day 1 of this company. I'm the one who won our biggest clients. And that's exactly why this situation is so concerning," replied Mr. Ferris. "A single, childless man who suddenly takes informal custody of an abandoned child, spending company money in the process. How does that sound to our clients, to our investors?" The insinuation was clear and cruel. Liam felt anger boiling in his veins. "What exactly are you suggesting?" "We're not suggesting anything," Marcus said quickly, "just pointing out how the situation could be misinterpreted." "We have a proposal," the lawyer intervened. "Marcus is willing to temporarily assume the presidency of the company while you resolve your personal issues. It would be a paid leave, of course. A forced leave, you mean? A necessary leave, Marcus corrected, for the good of the company and for your own good. Liam looked at the three men sitting across from him and realized he was facing a carefully planned coup. Marcus wasn't reacting impulsively to the events of the last few days. He was executing a plan he had prepared long ago. How long have you been planning this? Liam, don't be paranoid, Marcus said, but something in his eyes confirmed the suspicions. Since when? Since Marina passed? Since I started pulling away from the company's social activities? Robert Lyons shifted uncomfortably in his chair, avoiding Liam's gaze. Mr. Ferris consulted his watch as if he had more important appointments. You have 1 week, Liam said finally, getting up. 1 week to present legal documentation justifying this proposal, because, gentlemen, you've forgotten one small detail. I still own 60% of this company. Actually, Marcus said softly, you need to check the most recent documents. The shares you used as collateral for the expansion loan last year. Well, there were some necessary transfers. Liam's world collapsed. The $2 million loan to buy new equipment and expand the company's operating area. Marcus had insisted it would be more advantageous to use the shares as collateral instead of physical assets. You manipulated my ownership stake. I protected the company, Marcus replied. When you started showing signs of emotional instability after your wife's loss, I took preventive measures. Liam headed for the door, but stopped when he heard the lawyer's voice. Mr. O'Connell, there's one more thing. The child's situation. Sophia, isn't it? It could be problematic for you personally as well. What do you mean? A single man assuming informal custody of a child without proper legal backing can attract unwanted attention from the competent authorities, especially if there are reports about your financial capacity to support her. The threat was clear. If Liam fought against being pushed out of the company, they would use Sophia against him, questioning his suitability as a guardian. 2 hours later, Liam was at home, sitting in the living room where Sophia was playing with some toys he had bought on the way. The girl hummed quietly as she built something with colorful blocks, oblivious to the fact that her future had become even more uncertain. Uncle Liam, she said, looking at him with concern. Are you sad? A little, he admitted. Is it because of my house? I can go back there if it's a problem for you. The innocence of the question broke Liam's heart. A 4-year-old child offering to go back to living in deplorable conditions so as not to cause trouble for others. No, sweetie, you're going to stay here with me, no matter what happens. But even as he made that promise, Liam wondered how he could keep it. Without the company, his financial resources were limited. Without legal backing, his custody of Sophia was fragile. And without fully understanding the power games Marcus was playing, he was fighting blind. That's when the phone rang. It was a number he didn't recognize. Mr. O'Connell, this is Social Services of Cedar Creek. We received a report concerning a child under your care. We need to schedule a visit to assess the custody conditions. Liam hung up the phone with trembling hands. The net was closing in, and he began to realize that the battle for Sophia would be much more complex and dangerous than he had imagined. Marcus wasn't just after the company, he was determined to completely destroy Liam's life. And the cruelest weapon he had found was to use Liam's love for his niece against him. The social worker arrived the next morning with military punctuality. Vera Hayes, a 40-year-old woman with a serious expression and a clipboard in hand, examined every corner of Liam's house with clinical eyes. Sophia hid behind him throughout the visit, whispering questions he didn't know how to answer. "Does the child have her own room?" asked Vera Hayes, jotting something down on her sheet. "She does. The guest room has been adapted for her. Adequate clothing, regular meals, medical follow-up? All of that is being provided. Mr. O'Connell, she said, stopping her writing and looking directly at him. I need to be clear about something. The report we received raises serious questions about your suitability as a temporary guardian. What kind of report? Someone alleged that you took custody of a child improperly, using her for personal gain, and that you do not have a stable financial condition to support her. Liam felt his blood boil. The words had Marcus's fingerprints all over them. Who made this report? That's confidential, but I can say the person showed detailed knowledge of your recent financial situation. Vera Hayes spent 2 hours examining everything: the pantry, Sophia's room, even the clothes he had bought for the girl. During that time, she asked questions about their daily routine, about educational plans, about the biological mother's situation. The child is traumatized, she observed, noticing how Sophia clung to Liam. Typical behavior of prolonged abandonment. I am arranging for psychological support. With what resources? According to our information, you were removed from your company yesterday. The question hit him like a punch. How did she know that so quickly? Who is providing you with this information? Mr. O'Connell, I'm here to protect the child's interests, not to investigate sources, but I need concrete guarantees about your ability to provide for Sophia. After the social worker left, Liam called his personal lawyer, Mr. Mark Thompson, a 60-year-old man who had been a friend of his father. Mark, I need your help urgently. Of course, Liam. I heard about the situation with Marcus. It's being talked about in business circles. He's using the girl against me. He filed a false report with social services. This is serious. But first, I need to understand your legal situation regarding the child. Do you have documents proving kinship? Liam explained about the birth certificate, about Catherine being institutionalized, about Eulalia's disappearance. Mr. Thompson listened in silence, asking pointed questions. The situation is complex, the lawyer said finally. Catherine is the biological mother, but she's incapacitated. You are the uncle, but you have no formal documentation of kinship, and there's no legal record of who had guardianship before. What does that mean? It means that technically, Sophia is in a state of legal abandonment. Anyone can question your custody, and the state can intervene. That afternoon, while Sophia slept after an emotionally draining day, Liam received an unexpected call. It was Charlie, his contractor. Boss, something strange is happening. What is it? I went to the girl's house today to check on the materials we left there. The house has been demolished. What do you mean, demolished? And completely leveled. There are city machines on the site and a sign saying it was an illegal construction in a preservation area. A chill ran down Liam's spine. Preservation area? Yeah, boss. And here's the weird part. The demolition order is from 6 months ago, but it was only executed today. And the person who signed the document as the complainant was a company called Thorn Development. The connection was instantly clear. Marcus hadn't just sabotaged Liam at the company, he had literally destroyed Sophia's home, eliminating any proof that the girl had truly lived in precarious conditions. Charlie, I need you to document everything. Photos, times, who was operating the machines. Already did, boss, and there's more. I spoke with Mrs. Gable, the neighbor who sometimes looked after the girl. She said men in suits were there yesterday, offering her money to sign a document. What kind of document? I don't know. She didn't sign because she couldn't read well, but she said they talked about Sophia being better off with capable people to take care of her. When Liam hung up the phone, his hands were shaking with rage. Marcus wasn't just trying to take the company, he was orchestrating a systematic campaign to isolate him and destroy any evidence that could support his version of the facts. That night, Sophia woke up from a nightmare, crying softly. Liam ran to her room and found her huddled in bed. I dreamed my house was gone, she sobbed, "and that bad people wanted to take me away from you." The cruel irony of the situation was not lost on Liam. Sophia's dreams were becoming reality. "No one is going to take you from me," he promised, hugging her. "I will protect you." "But what if they're stronger than you?" The innocent question from a 4-year-old perfectly encapsulated Liam's fears. What if Marcus really was more powerful? What if he had resources and connections that Liam couldn't fight? The next day, the answer came in a way he didn't expect. Mr. Thompson called urgently. "Liam, I need to see you immediately. I discovered something about Marcus that changes everything." "What did you discover?" "I can't talk over the phone, but it has to do with the reason he wants to get rid of you so badly, and with the child." "With Sophia? What do you mean? Come to my office and bring all the documentation you have on her." An hour later, sitting across from Mr. Thompson, Liam heard something that made his world collapse once more. "Marcus isn't just trying to take your company," the lawyer said, spreading documents on the table. "He has a buyer interested in his land, a major real estate development." "What land?" "The land where Sophia's house was, and other plots in the same area. Marcus found out there are city plans to develop that area as a luxury residential zone. But that doesn't explain why he wants to destroy me." "Yes, it does, because you, as a witness to Sophia's situation of abandonment in that location, can prove there were residents in the area. This would create legal obligations for resettlement, compensation, social impact studies. And with Sophia away from me, there are no witnesses. There's no evidence. The area can be developed without legal complications." Mr. Thompson showed Liam documents he had obtained through contacts at City Hall. Thorne Development had held several meetings with municipal authorities in the last 6 months, discussing the development of the region where Sophia lived. "But there's one thing he didn't expect," the lawyer said with a bitter smile: "the existence of Sophia as a potential heir." "Heir to what?" "To the land where she lived. Eulalia may have died without a will, but if she raised Sophia as her de facto adopted daughter, even without formal documentation, the girl has inheritance rights." "Is that possible?" "It's complex, but possible, and it would be enough to delay Marcus's plans for years." For the first time in days, Liam felt a glimmer of hope, but Mr. Thompson had more news. "There's something else, Liam. The social worker who came to your house yesterday, she wasn't from the official social services." "What do you mean?" "I checked. Vera Hayes works for a private family consulting firm. Someone paid for her to conduct that inspection and create a negative report about you." The realization that he had been so completely deceived left Liam stunned. Marcus had created a perfect trap: a fake social worker, demolition of the house, anonymous reports, all coordinated to isolate him and question his suitability as a guardian. "What do we do now?" "Now," said Mr. Thompson, "we play his game, but by our own rules." The counterattack strategy began the next morning, but was interrupted by a discovery that completely changed the course of events. Liam had taken Sophia for a full medical checkup, part of the plan to properly document his care for the girl, when the pediatrician, Dr. Fiona Olson, requested a private conversation. "Mr. O'Connell, I need to talk to you about the test results," she said with a concerned expression. "Is there a problem?" "Sophia has severe malnutrition, not just current but chronic. The blood tests show serious vitamin deficiencies, and there are signs that she hasn't been eating properly for a long time." Liam felt the world spin, but she was eating normally at home. Children who have experienced prolonged food deprivation develop compensatory patterns. They eat, but the body doesn't absorb nutrients properly. And there are signs of severe emotional stress that are affecting her physical development. What does that mean? It means Sophia needs intensive medical follow-up, periodic hospitalizations for nutritional replacement, vitamin supplementation, psychological support. It's an expensive and lengthy treatment. When they left the office, Sophia was visibly tired. During the drive home, she fell asleep in the car seat, and Liam could see how she was thinner than he had imagined, how her clothes hung loosely on her small body. Back at the house, he called Mr. Thompson to report the new situation. "This complicates everything," the lawyer said. "If Sophia needs expensive medical treatment, Marcus will use that against you. He'll claim you don't have the resources to care for her properly." "But I do. I can sell personal assets, get loans." "Liam, you need to understand. Marcus isn't just playing around. He has powerful connections, and now he has a medical justification to question your custody." That afternoon, as if the universe were confirming Mr. Thompson's worst fears, Liam received an official visit. This time, it was really from social services, a different worker accompanied by a court officer. "Mr. O'Connell, I'm Anna Fisher, an official social worker. We received a report about inadequate care conditions for a minor under your guardianship." Liam looked at the document she handed him. It was the fake report made by the consultant who had posed as a social worker. But now it was being used as the basis for an official investigation. "This report is fraudulent," he said. "The person who wrote it impersonated a social worker. Sir, we need to assess the child's current situation. Where is she?" "Sleeping. She had medical tests today and is very tired." "Medical tests? Why were they necessary?" Liam explained about the malnutrition, about the care he was providing, but he realized that every word he said was being used to build a case against him. "Mr. O'Connell," Anna Fisher said after an hour of conversation, "I'm going to be direct with you. A child with special medical needs requires care that goes beyond goodwill. She needs financial stability, family support, and adequate structure. I can provide all of that." "With what resources?" "Our report indicates that you were removed from your company and have no stable income at the moment." It was then that Liam realized the perfect trap Marcus had built. First, he created a situation where Liam was left without financial resources. Then, he generated medical evidence that showed expensive care needs. And now, the legal system itself was being used to remove Sophia from his care. After the officials left, Liam tried to call Mr. Thompson, but it went straight to voicemail. He tried calling Charlie, no answer. It was as if everyone had disappeared simultaneously. It was Sophia who broke the growing silence of the house. She appeared in the living room, still sleepy, carrying a drawing she had made before sleeping. "Uncle Liam, I made a new drawing," she said, showing him the paper. The drawing was different from all the others. It didn't show a perfect house or colorful birds. It showed two figures, one large and one small, holding hands but surrounded by dark, threatening figures. "Who are these dark people?" Liam asked, trying to keep his voice calm. "They are the bad people who want to separate us," Sophia replied, with a frightening naturalness. "But in my drawing, we're holding hands really tight so they can't." The girl's intuitive wisdom about her situation made Liam realize he wasn't protecting Sophia from the problems. She was well aware that people were trying to separate them. That night, he finally managed to speak with Mr. Thompson. "Sorry I didn't answer earlier," the lawyer said. "I've been investigating some things about Marcus and found some worrying information." "What kind of information?" "Marcus has a history of questionable practices. 5 years ago, he was involved in a similar case in Denver. A partner was forced to sell his stake after Marcus orchestrated a series of legal and financial problems for him." "And what happened to the man?" "He lost everything, the company, the house, even custody of his own children. Marcus has a pattern, Liam. He doesn't just break his opponents financially, he destroys them personally too." "But why me? We've been partners for 8 years." because you were never really a partner to him. You were always a temporary obstacle. And now, with the real estate development plans, you've become a problem that needs to be eliminated. Mr. Thompson explained that he had discovered connections between Marcus and a group of investors from Chicago interested in urban development in mid-sized cities like Cedar Creek. They identified the region where Sophia lived as ideal for a luxury condo complex, but they need a clean plot of land with no history of irregular occupation, no social problems. And Sophia represented exactly those problems. Exactly. An abandoned child living in precarious conditions creates complicated legal precedents for future development. As they talked, Liam heard a strange noise coming from Sophia's room. When he went to check, he found the girl sitting on the bed crying softly. "What is it, sweetie?" "I had a bad dream. I dreamed that men in suits came to get me and took me far away from you." Liam hugged her, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. "That's not going to happen." "You promise?" "I promise." But even as he made that promise, Liam knew he was fighting against forces much larger than he had imagined. Marcus wasn't just a greedy partner. He was part of a larger scheme with resources and connections that Liam could barely comprehend. The next morning, the situation worsened drastically. Liam woke up to insistent knocking on the door. It was 2 court officers, accompanied by a new social worker. "Mr. O'Connell, we have a court order for an emergency custody evaluation of the minor Sophia Santos O'Connell." "Based on what?" "A medical report indicating nutritional neglect and financial instability of the guardian." Liam looked at the documents handed to him. It was Dr. Fiona's report, but distorted to make it seem like he had consciously neglected Sophia's diet, and attached was a petition requesting the immediate removal of the child from his care. Who filed this petition? A concerned relative worried about the child's well-being. What relative? Sophia has no other relatives. Mr. Marcus Thorne. He claims to be a close family friend and has legitimate concerns about the minor's situation. The final blow had been dealt. Marcus was now presenting himself as Sophia's protector, using Liam's own concern for the girl's health as evidence that she was in danger under his care, and the worst part was that legally he was winning. The emergency custody hearing was set for 3 days later, but before that happened, an unexpected discovery completely changed the game. Mr. Thompson had spent the night investigating Eulalia's documents found in the demolished house, and he called Liam at 6 in the morning with urgency in his voice. "Liam, I need you to come to my office immediately and bring Sophia." "Why? What happened?" "I found something in Eulalia's papers that will change everything, but I need to check one thing with the girl first." An hour later, in the lawyer's office, Sophia was playing with some toys in the corner of the room, while Mr. Thompson showed Liam old documents and photographs. "Eulalia wasn't just a retired nurse who offered to care for Sophia," he began. "She was Eulalia Santos Mendoza, widow of Anthony Mendoza." And who was Anthony Mendoza? The man who built half the neighborhood where Sophia lived, including the land the house was on. Mr. Thompson spread old photographs on the table, images of a middle-aged man next to a younger woman, deeds of sale for land, marriage certificates. Anthony died 10 years ago, leaving several plots of land to Eulalia. She never sold the properties, living only on her savings and a small pension. It means Sophia could be the legitimate heir to valuable properties in the region Marcus wants to develop. Liam looked at the girl, who continued to play, oblivious to the fact that she was possibly the owner of land worth a fortune. But how do we prove it? There's the problem. Eulalia never formalized Sophia's adoption, but there's evidence she considered her a daughter. Letters, photographs, medical documents, where she identifies herself as the guardian. Mr. Thompson called Sophia over to the table and showed her some photographs. Sophia, do you recognize this lady? The girl looked at a photo of a younger woman and smiled. It's Grandma Eulalia when she was young, and this gentleman next to her. Grandpa Anthony. Grandma used to show this picture sometimes and say he was in heaven looking after us. Did she talk about him? She said he built our house with a lot of love, and that one day I would have many houses to give to children who had nowhere to live. Sophia's innocent words confirmed what Mr. Thompson suspected. Eulalia had raised the girl not just out of charity, but truly considering her as her heir. Liam, if we can prove that Sophia is the heir to Eulalia's land, Marcus loses all his bargaining power. He can no longer claim to be acting for her well-being because he would clearly be trying to profit from properties that belong to her. But the joy of the discovery was cut short by an urgent call. It was Charlie. Boss, something very strange is happening. I'm at the county records office trying to get information about the lands in the region as you asked. And several documents have disappeared. Property records, old deeds, even death certificates. The clerk said there was an incident in the archive last week. What kind of incident? A small fire in the storage where the old documents were kept. Very specific. It only hit the files for that region. Liam exchanged a significant look with Mr. Thompson. Marcus was erasing evidence, destroying anything that could prove Sophia's rights. Charlie, did you manage to save anything? I got some copies that were in another department, but they aren't original documents. That afternoon, while Mr. Thompson worked to reconstruct the chain of ownership with the few saved documents, Liam received an unexpected visit. It was Dr. Patricia, Catherine's psychiatrist. Mr. O'Connell, I came in person because your sister's situation has changed drastically. What do you mean? Catherine has had a significant downturn since your last visit. She's obsessed with the idea that she has lost Sophia forever and has developed episodes of paranoia. What kind of paranoia? She's convinced that there are people trying to harm you and Sophia. She constantly talks about dangerous men who want to separate the family. Liam felt a shiver. Catherine's paranoia was perfectly mirroring the reality he was living. Does she want to see Sophia? No, and that's the most worrying part. Catherine is refusing to see anyone from the family. She says her presence could put you in danger. Doctor, my sister may be paranoid, but she's not wrong. There are people trying to harm us. The doctor's expression changed. What do you mean? Liam briefly explained about Marcus, the land, the systematic campaign to remove Sophia from his care. Doctor, Patricia listened with growing attention. That would explain Catherine's sudden deterioration, she said finally. If she is realizing, even subconsciously, that her daughter is in real danger. Could she have had access to information somehow? It's possible. Catherine has moments of absolute lucidity. And 2 days ago, she asked me a very specific question. If something happens to me, who will protect Sophia's rights? That night, Liam was putting Sophia to bed when she asked a question that startled him. Uncle Liam, why doesn't Mommy Catherine want to see me anymore? Who said that? Nobody said it, but I know. Sometimes I dream about her and she's crying. She wants to protect me from bad people, so she stays away. Sophia's ability to intuitively understand complex situations continued to surprise Liam. It was as if she had developed a keen perception of danger and protection. Sophia, if someone came here and said you had to leave with me, what would you do? The girl thought for a moment. I would ask where you are going to stay, because I only go to places where you can come too. And what if they said it's better for you to stay with other people? I would say you are my family, and family doesn't abandon family. The next morning, the situation took an unexpected turn. Liam woke up to his phone ringing insistently. It was an unknown number. Mr. O'Connell, This is Ryan Mendoza, son of Anthony Mendoza. The name hit Liam like a bolt of lightning. Ryan Mendoza, the man who was supposedly Sophia's father, according to the letter Catherine had left with Eulalia. Mr. Mendoza, I'm calling because I heard there are legal issues involving my late father's property and a child who may have inheritance rights. How did you find out about this? Because someone offered me a considerable sum to waive any claim to the lands. And when I investigated why, I found out about Sophia. Liam felt the world spin. Who made this offer? A businessman named Marcus Thorne. But here's the thing, Mr. O'Connell. I've never met any Catherine O'Connell. I've never had a relationship that could result in the paternity of this child. So you're not Sophia's father? Definitely not. And that made me realize there's something very wrong with this whole story. Ryan explained that he had received forged documents trying to prove his paternity, but that his own medical records proved he had been sterile since an accident in his teens. Mr. O'Connell, I think your niece is being used in a scheme much larger than we imagine, and I think I know who her real father is. The call dropped before Ryan could explain, but Liam already knew that another piece of the puzzle had been revealed. Marcus wasn't just trying to steal land. He was manipulating the entire family history to achieve his goals. And now, with the custody hearing scheduled for the next day, Liam realized he was fighting not just for Sophia, but against a conspiracy that went far beyond corporate greed. The custody hearing took place in a small, stuffy room at the Cedar Creek Courthouse. Liam arrived accompanied by Mr. Thompson and Sophia, who nervously held a new drawing she had made the night before. On the other side of the room, Marcus was impeccably dressed, flanked by two lawyers who looked like they had stepped out of a corporate magazine. Judge Edward Ferris was a man in his 60s, known for his impartiality, but also for his strictness on child welfare issues. He examined the documents for several minutes before addressing anyone present. This hearing has been convened to evaluate the custody of the minor Sophia Santos O'Connell, he began. Mr. Marcus Thorne, you filed a petition alleging negligence on the part of the current guardian. You may present your arguments. Marcus stood up with the confidence of someone who knew he held all the cards. Your Honor, I am here moved solely by concern for the well-being of this innocent child. Mr. O'Connell, despite his good intentions, has neither the financial nor the emotional means to properly care for Sophia. What evidence do you have for these allegations? Marcus's lawyer presented a thick folder. A medical report proving severe malnutrition of the child while under the care of the respondent, documents showing the financial instability of Mr. O'Connell, who was recently removed from his business activities for erratic behavior, and psychological opinions questioning his suitability as a guardian for a minor. Liam felt his blood boil, but Mr. Thompson held his arm, whispering for him to stay calm. And what is your relationship to the child, Mr. Thorne? Asked the judge. I am a long-time business partner of Mr. O'Connell and consider myself a friend of the family. When I learned of the child's precarious situation, I felt morally obligated to intervene. And you propose to take custody of the minor? Not directly, Your Honor, but I have identified a suitable family with stable financial resources and experience in childcare, who is willing to take Sophia in while her permanent legal situation is resolved. Mr. Thompson requested permission to speak. Your Honor, I would like to present evidence that has recently been discovered about this situation. Proceed. Mr. Marcus Thorne is not acting out of altruism. He has direct business interests in the removal of the minor from her current care. Mr. Thompson presented the documents about the land and the real estate development plans. Sophia is a potential heir to valuable properties that Mr. Thorne wants to develop commercially. That is a serious accusation, said the judge, examining the papers. Mr. Thorne, what do you have to say about this? Marcus maintained his composure, but Liam could see a tension in his eyes. Your Honor, these are baseless allegations made by a desperate man trying to maintain a situation that clearly harms the child. And what about the lands mentioned? There are development plans for that region, yes, but that would be beneficial for the entire community, creating jobs and modernizing a rundown area. It was then that something unexpected happened. Sophia, who had remained quiet until then, stood up and addressed the judge. "Mr. Judge," she said in her clear child's voice, "can I speak too?" Judge Ferris was surprised. It was rare for such young children to be heard in official hearings, but something in Sophia's determination impressed him. "Of course, my dear. What do you want to say?" "I want to stay with Uncle Liam. He took care of me when I was alone. He takes me to the doctor when I'm sick, and he never lied to me. And Mr. Thorne, do you know him?" Sophia looked at Marcus with a seriousness that was impressive for her age. "He never came to see me before I was sick. He only showed up after he found out about my house." "What house, dear?" "The house where I lived with Grandma Eulalia. Grandma said that one day I would take care of many houses to help other children. But that man," she pointed to Marcus, "had my house destroyed." The silence in the room was profound. Marcus tried to interrupt, but the judge silenced him with a gesture. "Sophia, are you sure that Mr. Thorne had your house destroyed?" "I am. The man who came with the machines showed a paper with his name on it." Mr. Thompson seized the moment. "Your Honor, we have documents proving that Thorne Development, a company owned by Mr. Thorne, was responsible for the demolition of the house where Sophia lived." The judge examined the documents with growing attention. "Mr. Thorne, can you explain why your company demolished this child's residence?" "It was an illegal construction in a preservation area," Marcus replied, visibly uncomfortable. "We were complying with a municipal order." "An order that you yourselves requested," added Mr. Thompson. "We have documents showing that Thorne Development reported the illegal construction only after they learned of Sophia's existence." At that moment, the courtroom doors opened, and a man Liam didn't know entered hurriedly. It was Ryan Mendoza, carrying a folder full of documents. "Your Honor, I apologize for the interruption, but I have crucial information about this case." "Who are you, sir?" "Ryan Mendoza, son of the late owner of the lands in question, and supposedly this child's biological father." The murmur in the room grew louder. Marcus tried to stand, but his lawyer pulled him back into his chair. "Mr. Mendoza, can you clarify your relationship with the minor?" "I can, Your Honor. I have no relationship with her whatsoever. I never met her biological mother, and I have medical documents proving I have been sterile since I was 16. Ryan presented medical exams, reports, hospital documents. Someone forged my paternity of this child to complicate inheritance issues related to my father's land. And who would have an interest in doing that? The same man who offered me money to waive rights I didn't even know I had. Mr. Marcus Thorne." The room erupted in confusion. Marcus's lawyer tried to question the authenticity of the documents, but was clearly losing ground. It was then that the biggest twist occurred. The bailiff announced the arrival of another person. "Your Honor, Mrs. Catherine O'Connell requests permission to participate in the hearing. The child's biological mother." "Yes, sir. She is accompanied by her doctor and insists she has important information about her daughter's paternity." When Catherine entered the room, Liam was shocked by her appearance. His sister was visibly fragile, but there was a fierce determination in her eyes. Sophia ran to her, shouting, "Mommy Catherine!" "Your Honor," Catherine said in a trembling but firm voice, "I need to tell the truth about who Sophia's father is. I have lied for all these years to protect people I thought deserved protection. You may speak, ma'am." Catherine looked directly at Marcus before answering. Marcus Thorne is Sophia's biological father. He had a relationship with me 5 years ago, promised marriage, but abandoned me when he found out about the pregnancy. The bombshell exploded in the room. Marcus turned ashen, his lawyers panicked, and Liam felt as if the world had stopped. "You're lying!" Marcus shouted, completely losing his composure. "I'm not," Catherine replied calmly, "and I have proof." She handed the judge a series of documents, old text messages, photographs, even a DNA test that had been done secretly when Sophia was born. "Why did you hide this until now?" asked the judge. "Because he threatened me. He said if I told the truth, he would destroy my family. And when I had my nervous breakdown, I thought it was better for Sophia to grow up far away from him." The judge examined all the documents while the room remained in tense silence. Finally, he looked up. "Mr. Marcus Thorne, considering the evidence presented, this custody hearing is temporarily suspended. There are issues of paternity and potential conflict of interest that need to be properly investigated." Marcus and his lawyers left the room quickly, but Liam knew this was far from over. He now knew he was fighting against Sophia's own biological father, a man who was willing to destroy his own daughter to make a profit. The revelation that Marcus was Sophia's biological father completely changed the dynamic of the situation, but not in the way Liam expected. 3 days after the hearing, he received a call that made his blood run cold. "Mr. O'Connell, this is Mr. Henry Ferris, Mr. Marcus Thorne's attorney. My client would like to propose a settlement." "What kind of settlement?" "A private meeting to discuss Sophia's future. Just the two of you, no lawyers, no court, man to man." Liam hesitated. Meeting Marcus alone seemed like a trap, but at the same time, it was an opportunity to understand his true motivations. "Where and when?" "Tonight, 8 o'clock, at the O'Connell Construction Headquarters." The choice of location was no coincidence. Marcus wanted to meet him in the company he had helped build and was now losing. When Liam arrived at the office that night, he found Marcus sitting in his old chair, at the desk he himself had chosen years ago. The symbolism was clear and cruel. "Liam, thank you for coming," Marcus said, gesturing to a chair on the other side of the desk, the visitor's chair in his own office. "What do you want, Marcus?" "I want to resolve this situation in the most civilized way possible, for the good of everyone, especially Sophia." "Oh, now you care about her, after trying to destroy her life?" Marcus sighed, adopting the posture of a tired, misunderstood man. "Liam, you don't understand the complexity of the situation. Yes, Sophia is my biological daughter, but that doesn't change the fact that I didn't plan her existence." "Does that justify abandoning a child?" "It justifies making rational decisions instead of emotional ones. Catherine was unstable, you know that. When she got pregnant, I thought it was best for everyone if I stepped away." Liam felt disgusted by the coldness with which Marcus spoke about abandoning his own daughter. "And now, what has changed?" "Now I've discovered that Sophia may have rights to valuable properties. As her biological father, I can legally represent her interests." "You mean you can control her inheritance?" "I can ensure she is raised properly, with the resources she deserves," Marcus corrected. "Can you offer her that, Liam? With no company, no stable income?" The question hit Liam where it hurt most. He really was in a precarious financial situation, and properly caring for Sophia required resources he didn't have. "What's your proposal?" "Simple. You renounce any claim of custody over Sophia. In return, I guarantee she will be raised by a suitable family, not with me, mind you, but by capable people, and you get your stake in the company back." "You're trying to buy Sophia." "I'm trying to ensure the best possible future for her, and for you too." Liam stood up abruptly. The answer is no. Liam, be rational. What can you offer her? Love. That doesn't pay for medical treatment, a quality education, a secure future. I offer her a family, something you've never understood the value of. Marcus leaned back in his chair, a cold smile appearing on his face. Family? You're talking about a child you've known for a week, that you found by chance. That's not family, Liam, it's guilt. Guilt? Guilt for losing touch with Catherine. Guilt for not helping when she needed it. You're trying to compensate for your mistakes through Sophia. The words hit Liam like punches because there was a terrible partial truth to them. Part of his determination to help Sophia did indeed come from the guilt he felt for his sister. Even if that's true, he said finally, it doesn't change the fact that she needs someone who loves her. Love is not enough, Liam, and you know it. When Liam left the meeting, he felt emotionally drained. Marcus's words echoed in his mind, planting seeds of doubt he struggled to ignore. At home, he found Sophia playing with Catherine, who had received medical permission for a supervised visit. Seeing mother and daughter together should have made him happy, but it only intensified his confusion. How was the meeting? Catherine asked when Sophia went to her room to get more drawings. Complicated. Marcus wants to negotiate. He always wants to negotiate. That's how he sees people, as chess pieces in his business games. Catherine, I need to ask you something. Why did you really hide that Marcus was the father? It wasn't just because of the threats, was it? Catherine was silent for a long moment. Because I knew the man he really is. Cold, calculating, capable of anything to get what he wants. I didn't want Sophia to grow up thinking that kind of person was her father. And now he might have legal rights over her. That's why I'm here, to fight by your side. That night, after Catherine returned to the clinic, Liam had a difficult conversation with Sophia. Sophia, do you understand that there are people who want to decide where you're going to live? I understand, but I've already decided. I want to stay with you. And what if I can't take care of you properly? If I don't have enough money to pay for doctors, a good school, things you deserve? Sophia looked at him with that wisdom that continued to surprise him. Uncle Liam, do you think I was happy when I only had cardboard to sleep on? No. And do you think I'm happy now, even with all these problems? I hope so. I'm very happy, because you really love me, and that's more important than anything. The girl's simple words dispelled all the doubts Marcus had planted in his mind. Sophia was right. True love was worth more than money or material security, but his peace of mind was short-lived. The next morning, Mr. Thompson called urgently. Liam, we have a serious problem. Marcus has filed an emergency paternity petition. What do you mean? He's using the DNA tests Catherine presented as proof of paternity to claim immediate legal rights over Sophia. Is that possible? Unfortunately, yes. As the biological father, he has rights that supersede yours as an uncle, especially considering your financial situation has been questioned. And what does that mean practically? It means he can get temporary custody of Sophia while the final situation is resolved, and once she's in his care, she'll never come back to me. Exactly. Liam hung up the phone with trembling hands. Marcus had used Catherine's own revelation against them, turning the truth into a weapon. He looked at Sophia, who was drawing peacefully at the kitchen table, completely oblivious to the fact that her world was about to collapse again. Uncle Liam, she said without looking up from the paper, are you worried again? A little. You don't have to be. I know you'll protect me. You promised. Sophia's innocent faith in his ability to protect her was both inspiring and terrifying. Because for the first time since he met her, Liam truly didn't know how to keep his promise. That afternoon, he received the official notification. The hearing to decide temporary custody would be the next day, and this time Marcus had all the legal advantages on his side. The second hearing took place in a much tenser atmosphere than the first. Marcus arrived with an even larger team of lawyers, and this time there were reporters at the courthouse door. Someone had leaked information about the case to the local press. Liam's stomach churned as he saw the headlines. Businessman fights for custody of abandoned daughter, and child in dispute over $1 million inheritance. Marcus was also playing in the court of public opinion, painting himself as a responsible father, trying to reclaim the daughter who had been kept from him by tragic circumstances. Judge Edward Ferris seemed more serious than at the previous hearing. He had clearly spent time studying the case and its legal complexities. This hearing is being held to determine the temporary custody of the minor Sophia Santos O'Connell. Considering the new evidence of biological paternity, he announced, Mr. Marcus Thorne, as the proven biological father, you have clear legal rights, but I need to understand your real intentions regarding the child. Your Honor, my intentions are simple and pure, Marcus replied with a studied humility that made Liam feel sick. I want to assume my responsibilities as a father and ensure my daughter has the best possible future. You were absent from the child's life for 4 years. How do you explain that? It was a terrible mistake on my part, Marcus said, and Liam could see fake tears glinting in his eyes. I was young, scared of the responsibility. When Catherine had her mental health problems, I thought it would be better to step away. But now I realize I abandoned my daughter when she needed me most. The performance was flawless. If Liam didn't know the truth about Marcus, even he would be convinced of his sincerity. And your practical plans for caring for the child? I have substantial financial resources, a large and suitable home, and have already identified the best private school in the city. Additionally, I've hired a nanny specializing in childcare. Mr. Thompson asked for permission to question. Mr. Thorne, can you explain the coincidence between your sudden paternal interest and the discovery that Sophia may be an heir to valuable properties? Objection, said Marcus's lawyer. Leading question. Sustained. The judge agreed. Rephrase. Mr. Thorne, are you aware of Sophia's potential inheritance rights? I am. And as a father, it is my responsibility to protect her financial interests. Protect or control? Protect, obviously. A 4-year-old cannot make decisions about properties and investments. It was then that something unexpected happened. The courtroom door opened and an elderly woman entered leaning on a cane. It was Mrs. Gable, the neighbor who had occasionally cared for Sophia. Your Honor, I ask for permission to speak, she said in a trembling but determined voice. Who are you, ma'am? Marta Gable, Eulalia's neighbor. I took care of Sophia when she was alone. The judge hesitated, but allowed her to approach. What do you have to say? This man, she pointed to Marcus, never appeared in the girl's life, not when she was starving, not when she was sick. The one who took care of her was Mr. Liam. Ma'am, that is not relevant to... began Marcus's lawyer. Yes, it is relevant, Mrs. Gable interrupted with surprising force. Because this man came to my house 3 times, offering me money to lie about the girl's situation. He wanted me to sign a paper saying she was abandoned and mistreated. The silence in the room was deafening. Marcus turned, visibly pale. Do you have proof of these allegations, ma'am? Asked the judge. I do, Mrs. Gable replied, taking a small recorder from her purse. I recorded the last conversation because I thought it was strange. The audio was played in the courtroom, and everyone could clearly hear Marcus's voice offering $500 for Mrs. Gable to sign a false statement about neglect. That was taken out of context, Marcus stammered. Mr. Thorne, the judge said in a cold voice, can you explain why you were trying to bribe a witness? It wasn't a bribe, it was. It was just an attempt to compensate the lady for her time. Lying on an official document? Marcus's house of cards was collapsing, but he still had one card up his sleeve. Your Honor, his lead lawyer said, regardless of questionable investigative tactics, my client remains the child's biological father. That gives him inalienable rights. That's true, the judge agreed. Mr. O'Connell, what can you present to justify custody remaining with you? Mr. Thompson stood up. Your Honor, we would like to call a final witness. Who? The minor herself, Sophia Santos O'Connell. Marcus tried to protest, but the judge allowed Sophia to approach. The girl held Liam's hand firmly as she walked to the front of the room. Sophia, the judge said gently, do you understand what is happening here? I understand. You are deciding who I'm going to live with. And who would you like to live with? With Uncle Liam. But Sophia, Marcus's lawyer intervened, this gentleman here, he pointed to Marcus, is your real father, your biological father. Sophia looked at Marcus for a long moment. Then, with the devastating clarity that only children possess, she said, he may be my body's father, but Uncle Liam is my heart's father. And Grandma Eulalia taught me that love is stronger than blood. But your real father can give you better things, the lawyer insisted. A bigger house, an expensive school, toys. And can he give me love? Sophia asked simply. Of course he can. Sophia shook her head. No, he can't. Because if he really loved me, he would have never left me alone when I was scared. The girl's response echoed through the room like a moral verdict. Marcus tried to stand, perhaps to say something, but his own lawyer pulled him back. Sophia, the judge said, are you sure you want to stay with your uncle? I am. And I also want my mommy Catherine to live with us when she gets better. It was at that moment that another surprise occurred. Dr. Patricia, Catherine's psychiatrist, entered the room accompanied by a nurse. Your Honor, I apologize for the interruption, but I have important news about Catherine O'Connell's condition. You may speak. Catherine has shown significant improvement since the last hearing. She is lucid, stable, and expresses a clear desire to participate in decisions about her daughter. Where is she now? Outside, waiting for permission to enter. The judge allowed Catherine to enter, who was visibly stronger than last time. She addressed the judge directly. Your Honor, as Sophia's mother, I formally renounce my custody rights in favor of my brother, Liam O'Connell, who has proven to be a better father to my daughter than I or her biological father ever were. Ma'am, are you sure about this? Absolutely. And I want it on the record that Marcus Thorne never showed genuine interest in Sophia as a daughter, only as property. Marcus finally exploded. This is a conspiracy. You're all against me. Mr. Thorne, the judge said firmly, you are in contempt of court. But Marcus was beyond reason. She is my daughter, my property. I have rights. The words, my property, sealed his fate. The judge slammed the gavel down hard. Considering all the evidence presented, including attempted bribery of a witness and the clear demonstration that the petitioner views the child as property rather than a daughter, I grant temporary custody to Liam O'Connell with the support of the biological mother. The room erupted in reactions. Marcus was restrained by his lawyers as he shouted threats. Sophia ran to hug Liam, and Catherine cried with relief. But Liam knew that this victory was only the beginning. Marcus would not give up easily, and he had enough resources to make their lives a living hell for a long time to come. The victory in court brought a sense of temporary relief, but Liam knew that Marcus would not accept defeat silently. Confirmation of his worst fears arrived 3 days later when he woke up to the sound of glass shattering outside his house. Someone had thrown a rock through the living room window during the night. On the floor among the glass shards was a note. This isn't over. You will pay for interfering with my plans. Sophia found Liam cleaning up the debris the next morning. "Uncle Liam, why did the window break?" "It was an accident," he lied, not wanting to scare her, but the girl looked at him with those big, wise eyes. It was the bad man, wasn't it? Sophia's perception of the situation continued to surprise him. "How do you know?" "Because I saw him from my room last night. He was standing on the street, looking at our house." A chill ran down Liam's spine. Marcus was watching them, and now he had escalated to physical intimidation. That same day, he received a call from Charlie with worrying news. "Boss, the company is in serious trouble. Marcus fired half the employees and cancelled all ongoing contracts." "Can he do that?" "Apparently so. He has power of attorney for operational decisions, and he's claiming cost-cutting due to previous irresponsible management." Liam closed his eyes, realizing Marcus's diabolical strategy. If he couldn't use Sophia to get to the land, he would destroy any possibility of Liam having the resources to care for her. "There's more, boss. He's spreading rumors in the market about you having serious personal problems. Several old clients have cancelled projects. The afternoon brought more trouble. Mr. Thompson called urgently. "Liam, Marcus has filed a lawsuit questioning your financial ability to care for Sophia. He's claiming you've lost the company and have no way to support a child properly." "But I just won temporary custody." Temporary is the key word. He can challenge it at any time if he can prove financial instability. That night, while Sophia slept, Liam sat on the porch contemplating his limited options. Marcus was systematically destroying his life, using his own determination to protect Sophia against him. That's when his phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Mr. O'Connell, this is Sandra Mendoza, Ryan's wife." "Yes, ma'am. How can I help you?" "Actually, we want to help you. My husband told me about the situation with Sophia and this terrible man. We have a proposal." "What kind of proposal?" "Ryan inherited some land from his father, including some in the same area where Sophia lived. If we can prove she has inheritance rights to Eulalia's properties, we can form a partnership to develop them properly." "I don't understand." "A low-income housing development, Mr. O'Connell. Quality, affordable homes for families. It would be a legitimate social project that would generate income for both Sophia and our family." The proposal was intriguing, but Liam was tired of legal complications. And Marcus? Marcus can only develop the area if it's completely free of inheritance issues. If we prove Sophia has legitimate rights, his hands are tied. The next day, Liam met with Ryan and Sandra to discuss the details. The couple was genuinely kind, and the housing project truly seemed to have social merit. The idea would be to build small but functional houses for families who can't get traditional bank financing, Sandra explained, showing architectural plans. It would be a way to honor Eulalia's memory, who always cared for people in need. And financially, it would be sustainable, Ryan replied. Modest, but steady profit, enough to secure Sophia's future and still help other families. The plan seemed solid, but executing it first required proving Sophia's inheritance rights, something complicated by the lack of formal adoption documentation by Eulalia. It was Mr. Thompson who suggested the solution. "We can try for a recognition of de facto adoption based on witnesses and circumstantial evidence." "What kind of evidence? Photographs, medical documents where Eulalia identifies herself as the guardian, testimonies from neighbors about their relationship." For the next 2 weeks, Liam and Mr. Thompson worked tirelessly gathering evidence. Mrs. Gable proved to be a valuable source of information and documents. She had kept photographs of Sophia with Eulalia, letters the elderly woman had written mentioning "my daughter of the heart," and even medical receipts signed by Eulalia as the responsible party. But Marcus didn't stand still. He intensified his campaign of personal destruction against Liam. Rumors about mental instability and erratic behavior began to circulate in the local business community. The situation reached a critical point when Liam received a visit from social workers, this time real ones. "Mr. O'Connell, we've received reports about a risk situation for the minor under your care," said the lead worker. "They allege that you are under excessive psychological pressure and may not be providing a stable environment for the child." "Who made these reports?" "That's confidential, but the allegations are specific. Lack of financial resources, erratic behavior, involvement in legal disputes that affect the minor's well-being." Liam realized he was losing a battle he didn't even know he was fighting. Marcus was attacking on all fronts: legal, financial, social, and psychological. That night, he had an honest conversation with Catherine, who was visiting Sophia. "Catherine, maybe I should give up." "What do you mean?" "Marcus has resources I don't. He can fight indefinitely, and in the end, it's Sophia who suffers." "Liam, are you serious?" "I'm tired of fighting, of seeing Sophia in the middle of this war. Maybe she'd be better off." "With whom?" "With Marcus. With strangers." Catherine held his hands. "Brother, Sophia needs you, not for the resources you can provide, but for the love. Love doesn't pay bills, Catherine." "No, but it builds character, and Sophia is going to need a lot of character to face the world she's inheriting." As they talked, Sophia appeared in the room carrying a new drawing. This time she had drawn 3 figures, herself, Liam, and Catherine, but they were flying. Not running away, but flying together towards a bright sun. "It's our new family," she explained. "In my drawing, we fly away from the problems and find a place where we can be happy." Looking at the drawing, Liam realized there was a profound wisdom in Sophia's perspective. Maybe the solution wasn't to fight Marcus on his own turf, but to find a completely different way to win. The next morning, he called Ryan with a radical proposal. "What if we leave Cedar Creek?" "What do you mean?" "The housing project. We can do it somewhere else, where Marcus has no influence. And that way, we get Sophia out of his reach while we build a new life." It was a risky idea, but the more Liam thought about it, the more sense it made. Marcus had local power, but in another state, in another city, they could start over. The question was it escape or strategy? And more importantly, would Sophia approve of leaving behind everything she knew to start a new life in an unknown place? The final revelation came in a completely unexpected way. Liam was organizing documents for the possible move when he found a letter that had gone unnoticed among Eulalia's papers. It was a sealed envelope addressed for Sophia when she turns 18. Something about the weight of the envelope and the trembling handwriting caught his attention. After much hesitation, he decided to open the letter in the presence of Mr. Thompson as a legal witness. What they found inside completely changed everything they thought they knew about the story. "My dearest Sophia," the letter began, "if you are reading this, it means I have left this world and you have grown enough to understand difficult truths. For 4 years, I have kept a secret that could change your life and the lives of people you love." Mr. Thompson stopped reading and looked at Liam. "Are you sure you want to continue? This could change everything." "Continue," Liam said, his heart beating fast. "Catherine is not your biological mother, my dear. She is your aunt. Your real mother was Julia O'Connell, Catherine and Liam's older sister, who passed from this world when you were only 3 months old." Liam's world stopped. Julia, his older sister who had died in an accident when he was only 15, more than 20 years ago. But how was this possible? The letter continued. "Julia had you in secret, the result of a relationship she kept hidden from the family with a married man. When she fell gravely ill after your birth, she asked me to take care of you and never reveal the truth to protect both you and your father's family. So Catherine isn't my mom. asked Sophia, who had quietly appeared in the room. Liam was startled. He hadn't realized the girl was listening. "Sophia, these are adult matters." "No, Uncle Liam, they're matters about me. I have a right to know." Mr. Thompson continued reading. "Catherine offered to raise you as her own daughter, inventing a story about being a single mother to protect Julia's memory. But when she started having her own emotional problems, I took over your care, promising to keep the secret until you were ready." "But why did Eulalia lie to Catherine about the paternity?" Liam asked, trying to process the information. The letter answered, "To protect Catherine from more suffering, I invented the story about Marcus being the father. Catherine was vulnerable, and I thought it would be easier for her to deal with an irresponsible ex-boyfriend than with the truth about her deceased sister." "So who is Sophia's real father?" asked Mr. Thompson. "Sophia's biological father is Robert Silva Mendoza, brother of Anthony, my late husband. He never knew about Julia or you, my dear, because Julia died before she could tell him about the pregnancy." The connection was instantly clear. Sophia wasn't just a potential heir to Eulalia's lands, she was a legitimate heir of the Mendoza family through her biological father. "Mr. Thompson, does this change everything?" Liam asked. "Completely. If Sophia is Robert Mendoza's daughter, she has direct inheritance rights to all the family's properties. Marcus loses any legal basis for his claims." But there was more in the letter. "Robert Silva Mendoza lives in Chicago and is an honorable man, married for 20 years to the same woman. They were never able to have children of their own. If you ever decide to look for him, you will find a father who always wanted a daughter to love." Sophia, who had listened to everything in silence, finally spoke. "So I have a real dad who doesn't even know I exist?" "It seems so," Liam replied gently. "And is he a good person?" "According to Eulalia, yes. But I can still stay with you, right? Even if I have a real dad?" The question touched Liam's heart. "Sweetie, that's something we would have to talk about with him, but no matter what happens, you will always be my special niece." That same day, Mr. Thompson began the process of locating Robert Silva Mendoza. It wasn't difficult. He was a respected architect in Chicago, with his own firm and a solid reputation in the market. The call was one of the hardest Liam ever had to make. "Mr. Mendoza, my name is Liam O'Connell, and I need to talk to you about Julia O'Connell." The silence on the other end of the line lasted for long seconds. "Julia? I haven't heard that name in over 20 years. How did you know her?" "She was my sister. And Mr. Mendoza, she had your daughter." "That's impossible. Julia died without me being able to speak to her one last time. She died when the baby was 3 months old. Your daughter is alive, she is 4 years old, and her name is Sophia." The crying on the other end of the line was unmistakable. Robert cried for several minutes before he could speak again. "Julia was pregnant when she passed." "She was, and apparently she couldn't tell you before she got sick." "My God, I have a daughter." "You do, and she's an extraordinary girl." Robert arrived in Cedar Creek the next day, accompanied by his wife Patricia. They were visibly nervous, but also clearly emotional about the possibility of meeting Sophia. The first meeting took place at Liam's house, with Mr. Thompson mediating. Sophia was curious but cautious with the strangers who claimed to be her real parents. "Did you know my mom, Julia?" she asked Robert. "I knew and loved her very much," he replied with a choked voice. "She was the kindest person I've ever met." "And did you want to have children?" "We wanted to very much," said Patricia. "We always dreamed of having a family." "And now you want to take me away from Uncle Liam?" Sophia's direct question caught the couple off guard. Robert looked at Liam before answering. "We want to get to know you better first, and understand what is best for you." Over the next few hours, Sophia showed her drawings to Robert and Patricia, told them about her life with Eulalia, about the problems with Marcus, about how Liam had saved her. The couple listened attentively, asking careful questions and showing genuine concern for the girl's well-being. It was Patricia who asked the crucial question, "Sophia, where are you happiest?" "Here, with Uncle Liam and Mommy Catherine," she replied without hesitation, "but I would like to get to know you better too." Robert and Patricia looked at each other, a silent communication passing between them. Finally, Robert spoke. "Liam, you saved our daughter and gave her the love she needed. We don't want to take that away from her." "What are you proposing?" "An extended family," said Patricia. "Us in Chicago, you here. Regular visits, participation in important decisions about Sophia, but respecting the home she has chosen." "And what about the inheritance rights?" "As the biological father, I can establish a trust fund for Sophia with the Mendoza properties," Robert explained. "That would solve the problems with Marcus once and for all." That night, after Robert and Patricia had gone to their hotel, Sophia asked Liam the question he had been dreading. "Uncle Liam, do you want me to go live with them?" "I want you to be happy, sweetie, regardless of where that is. They seem like good people, but Chicago is very far away, isn't it?" "It is. And if I go there, will you miss me?" "I will miss you very much. But if it's what's best for you..." Sophia interrupted him with a tight hug. "I don't want to go. I like them, but you are my real family now." The next day, Robert made a proposal that surprised everyone. They would move to Cedar Creek, at least temporarily, to be close to Sophia while they built a gradual relationship. "I can work from anywhere," he explained. "And Patricia has always wanted a change of scenery. You would do that. For our daughter, we would do anything." And so, amidst the chaos caused by Marcus, Sophia gained not just one family, but an extended family formed based on love, not on legal obligations or financial interests. Marcus, upon learning of the discoveries about Sophia's true paternity and her inheritance rights as Robert Mendoza's daughter, realized he had completely lost his battle. With no legal basis to continue his claims and facing possible legal consequences for his attempts at fraud and intimidation, he disappeared from Cedar Creek, selling his stake in the construction company and leaving town without looking back. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. I promise to bring you videos every day that will make your life happier. Comment what you thought of my story, giving it a score of 0 to 10, and thank you very much.